I'd like to call the Thursday, October 14th, 2021, County Village Board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Holzkopf?
Present.
Trustee Kenny
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Leopold?
Present.
Trustee Westberg?
Here.
Mayor Moore?
Present.
Everyone's present.
Please rise for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have no public comments this evening. And we don't have any proclamations, so I'll move that. I'll go here. A couple of our trustees have asked how the boardroom AV equipment update is. We're roughly 80 to 90% complete. Contractor ran into some challenges with limited hardware availability and has provided several pieces of loaner equipment to accommodate our needs until new equipment is available. And live stream video recording is not yet available due to programming issues, but that'll be resolved when one of this will go live. So there's that update.
Mayor, I just would like to thank and commend Carl Schmidt, our IT manager, for overseeing this. I know he's been living here in the boardroom for the last couple of weeks, in addition to all his other duties. So thank you, Carl, for all your work.
All right, we'll move on to items for discussion, consideration. Item A, approval of the July 14th, 2021 Village Board Workshop and July 22nd, 2021 Village Board meeting minutes.
Everybody present?
I think Nico was not at the workshop.
Doesn't matter, does it?
I don't think so. So we can just, somebody wants to make a motion.
to approve.
Second.
Harry? And who seconded it?
Yeah.
His new mics work so well, I can't tell. Roll call, please.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzkopf?
Aye.
Trustee Kenny
Yes.
Motion carries.
B, consideration of approval of October 14th, 2021 bill list. The total amount of $376,485. As long as everybody's already their bill list, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Harry, you go. Roll call, please.
Trustee Holzkopf?
Aye.
Trustee Kenny
Yes.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, consideration of a resolution approving a temporary use permit to hold an outside event on village property and temporary sign request for Huntley 158 Education Foundation and the Village of Huntley Annie Glow 5K on September 10th, 2022. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. As the board is aware, we did hold the 2021 event on September 11th. We had 2,460 participants. I think anybody who was there and saw it, it was an electric night. It was an outstanding restart to the Houdanny. The foundation would like to start planning and coordinating the 2022 event, which is proposed to take place on September 10th, 2022, and we'd like to cap the registration at 3,000. The event will include it has a 5K run walk beginning and ending at the town square. Registration and check-in will begin at 5 with the 5K beginning at 7:15, and the walk following immediately after. Participants will be encouraged to dress in their best willow attire. Homes and businesses along the route will be invited to make their houses and business the glowiest. I will say that we had many more participants than that in 2021. The after-event party will take place on the square with vendors, a DJ, picture opportunities, and games for kids. The event will conclude around 9 o'clock. I'd just like to point the board's attention to the financial impact part of it. We've consistently done this over the last couple of years. The foundation will partially reimburse the village for police and public works assistance during the event. We've looked at this as a partnership with the foundation and know that it's good for our businesses in the downtown, so we have not charged them for every hour that we spend down there. So at this point, we're looking for a motion of the board for a resolution approving a temporary use permit to hold an outside event on village property and a temporary sign request for the Huntley 158 Education Foundation in the Village of Huntley, and a Glow 5K September 10th, 2022. And quickly, Mayor, I'd just like to thank Angela, who's here, our only member of the audience tonight. She's done an outstanding job. She and Barb are what makes this event tick. It's a big one. Our police department and public works departments also are a huge part of the success of the event. So, Angela, thank you for all that you do for the foundation and the community, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Good event. Motion to approve.
Second.
Barry and Mary. Roll call, please.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzapfel?
Aye.
Trustee Candicaris?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item D, consideration of a resolution approving a proposal from William Roof Landscape for the East Wastewater Treatment Plant landscape screening in the amount not to exceed $24,900. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Huntley Dundee Road was reconstructed and realigned in 2006 in what is now known as Old Huntley Dundee Road. Serves the primary access to the East Wastewater Treatment Plant. As the beautification of the Huntley and Main Street remains a priority and special events continue to expand, with increased foot traffic, the East Wastewater Treatment Plant landscape screening project will further enhance the overall community appearance. A proposal by William Roof Landscape has been received and reviewed by staff, and all is in order for consideration to approve the proposal for the East Wastewater Treatment Plant landscape screening project. It includes 40 evergreens, which are arborvitae or the upright junipers, 30 small trees or ornamentals, 30 replacement viburnums, and then one stone bed. It's all going to be placed in a stone mulch bed. The FY21 budget does include sufficient funds for this project, so at this time, the action requested is the motion of the village board for a resolution approving a proposal from William Roof Landscape for the East Wastewater Treatment Plant landscape screening project in the amount not to exceed $24,900.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Items they are. Roll call, please.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzapfel?
Aye.
Trustee Candicaris?
Yes.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item E, consideration of a resolution waiving competitive bid and approving the four-year contract extension to A.B. Sanchez Incorporated for the entryway area and ornamental bed beautification services. Tim?
Thank you. So the village maintains the grounds at the entryway signing locations, the downtown, the Wing Point entryway at the Halligus and Huntley Dundee Roads, Southland entryway at Weed and Cambridge Drive, all four corners of the intersection of Main Street and Illinois Route 47, and the planting beds at the MC. The areas can be characterized as smaller areas generally with mulch and flower beds with seasonal decorating that require handwork and frequent attention. To accomplish all the necessary work to the standard and consistency that the village has come to expect, the village has contracted this work out over the last several years. For 2022, the areas will be expanded and added, such as the cemetery columbarium site, entryway at the Halligus Road and Dundee Road and Wing Point, the Reed Road and Cambridge Drive in Southland, expanded annual beds at the Route 47 and Main Street intersections, and then 2 additional entryway sign beds on Algonquin Road and Halligus Road that are proposed to be installed by Public Works yet this fall. On January 23rd, 2020, the village board approved the year 2 and 3 bid award for these areas to A.B. Sanchez. Based on acceptable performance for years 1 through 3 services, all is in order for consideration to approve the year 4 contract extension to A.B. Sanchez in the amount of $61,410. The cost increase is mainly related to the increased work scope. There is a cancellation policy for non-performance or violation of contract terms, in the contract. And the FY '22 budget would be presented to include $185,000, 61,410 of which is earmarked for the year 4 work identified under this contract. The waiver of bid does require an affirmative vote of 4. So at this time, the action request is a motion by the village board for a resolution waiving competitive bid and approving the year 4 contract extension to A.B. Sanchez for the entryway area and ornamental bed beautification services. Any questions?
Questions? Anybody got a motion? Kurt?
Tim, what's the typical contract cycle for most of these contracts that we sub out? Is it 3 or 4 year? Just out of curiosity.
You know, that's a good question. When we set this up, we were thinking 3-year, and especially given the fact that it was a new project for us, and we were going out to bid and we weren't sure what we were going to get. So the 3-year allowed us the opportunity to approve contracts year to year based on performance. And in this case, I think most of us, or not all of us, would agree that the performance has been exceptional from this contractor and the next one that we'll talk about. So since it's a performance-based contract, the idea would be to try to stick with that as long as costs seem reasonable year to year.
Any questions, Rhonda?
Go around that. Did they do the 2 beautiful planters in front of the main door here?
That was actually built.
Oh, that was the,
Mhm.
it's gorgeous.
They are, aren't they?
Yes. I actually took a picture, you'll see that on Facebook with me.
So Public Works, we purchased the pots, and then we're out with Bill Ruth to plant those, as well as some on Main Street that you might have seen.
What a great idea,
Yeah,
thank you.
it just looks great.
Mary?
Is the extended scope the weed control for that 45 miles and just the new way that you're putting chemicals down? What exactly is the extended
Oh, that's
scope?
on the next contract with Beach. So A.B. Sanchez, the extended scope is, we added some areas at the cemetery, as well as some additional seasonal planting beds at like 47 in Main Street. We're already doing it now. We're just going to expand it a bit more.
But how does that fall into, if we're looking at the beautification services for Route 1, it went from 2720 to 3650, what would the extended scope be for that?
Oh, some of that was just an annual cost increase. So what happened was we actually got a lump sum cost from A.B. Sanchez and just applied it evenly across the different routes, 7 routes. But most of the cost was mainly due to increased scope. For instance, like at the new entryway signs that we're going to be placing, that's new scope. Route 47 in Maine, we're expanding those flower bed planting areas. Wing Point and Southwind, we added some additional mulch beds at both those locations. And that was an area of concern for us in years past. We're actually progressively getting better there, and by next year we hope to have it cleaned up better. And so that we've identified some additional work for them to do in those areas.
And then it just got evenly distributed amongst, just
That-
because it looks like such a huge percentage
That-
jump in each other category, but it makes sense if it was,
That's what happened.
gotcha, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Harry?
Second.
Nico? Roll call, please.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzbach?
Aye.
Trustee Canakaris?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item F, consideration of a resolution waiving competitive bid and approving the Year 4 contract extension to CTV Incorporated for landscape maintenance services. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor. So the village is responsible for maintaining the grounds on all the village-owned property as well, in certain areas within Special Service Area Number 5, which is in Southwind, as well as certain tracts of village rights of way throughout the village. We've also been maintaining Illinois Route 47 medians for the last several years to keep those looking good. The combined village maintained areas total is approximately 119 acres. And to accomplish all the necessary work, the village does utilize contractors to share in the workload. Under this contract, there are 51 acres of turf mowing, and then all 119 acres of the weed and fertilizing throughout the village would be contracted. Public Works crews would still then be responsible for the turf mowing of approximately 68 acres. The areas targeted for contract generally consist of the more precarious areas such as highly traveled right-of-way with steeper slopes and adjacent to the detention basins, and then also the municipal center for consistency here. For 2022, staff has created a more robust and targeted weed control and fertilizer program to better adapt to the extreme weather patterns such as the drought that we experienced this summer and provide the most optimal weed-free appearance. The program includes 3 different priority areas, chemical application types and frequency of treatments. Also included in 2022 are 45 miles of curb and median weed control that include 1 application of pre-emergent and soil sterile in early spring, and then 6 monthly applications of a non-selective herbicide after that. And that's in the areas along Route 47, Ruth Road, Halligus Road, Jim Damer Drive, and Freeman Road. We did solicit proposals from a local weed control company for this program identified and would realize a $21,766 savings under this contract as opposed to the other company proposed for this year 4 contract extension. On Thursday, January 23rd, 2020, the village board did approve the year 2 and 3 bid award for the landscape maintenance services to CT Beach based on the acceptable performance for the year 1 through 3 services, all in order for consideration to approve the year 4 contract extension to CT Beach in the amount of $130,288. Most of that work, again, was related to the additional attention from the weed control and fertilizer standpoint, as well as the 45 miles of curb line and weed control in those high traveled areas. This contract would also include a cancellation policy for non-performance or violation of contract terms. The FY22 budget would be presented to include that $185,000 for these types of work, but $130,288 of which is earmarked for the year 4 work identified under this contract. The waiver of bid does require the affirmative vote of 4. So at this time, the action request is a motion by the village board for a resolution waiving competitive bid and approving the year 4 contract extension to CT Beach for the landscape maintenance services. Any questions?
What do you got, Bill? Darrell?
Can we invoice the state for fixing or keeping, maintaining those medians for them?
I'm sure we can invoice them, but I don't think we'll get paid.
Motion to approve. Second.
They are, and Kurt. Roll call, please.
Trustee Westberg,
Aye.
trustee Holzkoff,
Aye.
trustee Candicaris,
Yes.
trustee Leopold,
Yes.
trustee Kittle,
Yes.
trustee Goldman. Yes. Motion carries.
Item G, consideration of approval of payout request number 1 and final to A&A Paving Contractors Incorporated, the 2021 seal coating program in the amount of $49,085.16. Tim?
Thanks, Mayor. So A&A Paving Contractors has submitted their first and final payout request for the 2021 seal coating program. Village staff has reviewed the request and all is in order for approval. The areas completed would include the downtown parking lots as well as several of our utility facility locations. The FY21 budget does include funding for this work, so this evening the action request is a motion by the village board for approval of payout request number 1 and final to A&A Paving Contractors in the amount of $49,085.16.
Any questions? Any motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Nico and Mary? Roll call, please.
Trustee Candicaris,
Yes.
trustee Leopold,
Yes.
trustee Kittle,
Yes.
trustee Goldman. Yes. Trustee Westberg,
Aye.
trustee Holzkoff.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item H, consideration and approval of the payout request number 1 and final to Precision Pavement Markings Incorporated for the 2021 paint pavement marking program, amount of $32,270.17. Tim?
Last one, so Precision Pavement Markings has submitted the first and final payout request for the 2021 pavement marking program. Village staff has reviewed the request and falls in order for approval. The summary of the areas completed is included in the staff report, so I won't go through every one. I do want to mention though that we pulled Ruth Road as well as the targeted area on Halligus Road from the work scope because since the time they were programmed in, we then decided later that those roadways would be targeted for the FY22 street improvement program, so we didn't want to mark those and then go to do them next year. The FY21 budget does include funding for this work, so at this time, the action request is a motion by the village board for approval of payout request number 1 and final to Precision Pavement Markings in the amount of $32,270.17.
Questions?
Motion to approve.
Rhonda?
Second.
Gary? Roll call, please.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff?
Aye.
Trustee Catakaris?
Yep.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item I, discussion of the 2022 to 2025 strategic plan. This is just a draft document, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we begin tonight, I just want to point the board's attention to the draft document that you have in front of you. The mayor and I have talked, and Lisa and I discussed ways in which we could turn the strategic plan into a document that maybe isn't something that is just viewed in the budget or online. It's even, we could consider it a marketing type of document. So this is something that we completed in-house. Melissa Stocker did a nice job putting this together for us earlier this week. So again, as we go through this tonight, ultimately what we'd like to propose to the board is that we present this in this type of form so we can use it throughout the year. Before I begin, I just wanted to, one, obviously thank the board for your attention and involvement in this process. It's important. It sets the path, up through 2025. And then I'd also like to thank our Deputy Village Manager, Lisa Armour, who has done an outstanding job of taking everything that we've heard from the board, from the public, from our departments, and the mayor and I were talking about this this evening. This is the first time that we reached out to the employees and had some employee involvement as well outside of the leadership team. So I think we're really proud to present this in a draft form tonight, and then ultimately for your consideration on the 28th. So I'm just going to hit the highlights here. Again, I think the message from the board is important, and for well over a decade we've been committed to a formal strategic planning process. And I think as you see every agenda item that we present to the board, we try to tie back to this document. The previous plans have served us well. I won't go into the focus in great detail, but we've spent billions of dollars in making infrastructure improvements to our transportation network, high-profile projects like the interchange and the widening of Route 47. We also set goals to construct the first non-replacement hospital that was approved in the state in 30 years. We were successful in working with our partners at Centegra in overcoming steep challenges at the state to make the Centegra, now Northwestern Medicine campus, and the hospital reality. I think it's important to note that over the last decade, and the mayor and I talk about this when we go out and speak to the community, over $738 billion in new private sector investment in this community in the last decade. That says a lot. It means that this is a good place to invest and either live or open and operate a business. I think it goes without saying we've been conservative in our financial operations. We've now gotten to the point where we have an S&P credit rating of AA+, one step from the top. I won't go through and read each one of these. I know the board has had the opportunity to reevaluate and look at the vision, mission, and values. So again, I think at this point, before we move into the areas of strategic focus, may I just ask if the board has any additional comments or anything that you'd like to add that we can put into the final draft in that section.
See, on this,
If we could get all the way through the sections, Okay. You know, that, just real quick, we're gonna hit that and then come,
Okay.
make sure we come back section by section. If you're hearing nothing, then we'll move on to each area's strategic focus. Strategic focus area number one is the healthy, safe, and attractive community. An exceptional quality of life within the village begins with a safe and healthy community. The village will continue to support efforts that bring the community together to minimize crime, provide access to resources, to assist with both physical and mental health needs, and work with residents and businesses to maintain a well-kept appearance of properties. The three goals under the strategic focus tied to a safe community, a healthy community, and an attractive community. Any comments or? Hearing them, we'll roll on then to the strategic focus identified as strong local economy. The village's development efforts will be directed towards making Huntley a community of choice for businesses of all sizes, seeking to invest in new or expanded facilities, thereby creating new jobs and providing new options for dining and purchasing consumer goods. These efforts will be a focus on attracting a diversity of new housing for residents across all age groups and income levels. The village will continue to promote reinvestment in the downtown, strengthening its role as the heart of the community. Goal 1, under this area, the location of choice for residents. Goal 2, location of choice for new and expanding businesses of all sizes. And goal 3, a vibrant downtown gathering place. Any thoughts or changes? The next area is strategic focus and engaged community. The village will offer a wide range of events that bring residents and visitors to the community. We'll work to enhance community engagement by working with other agencies and organizations to address common areas of interest, maintain and enhance opportunities for resident involvement. We'll promote the Huntley brand through coordinated branding and messaging. The three goals of community events, enhanced community partnerships, and coordinated branding and messaging.
Quick comment, maybe a question for Barb. When we do those downtown concerts, are those contracted entertainers, are they publicizing that they're here in Huntley as an event on their social media pages?
Most of them do. I checked, but yeah, most of them do.
Because some of them have an outreach beyond Huntley.
Right.
Their followers come here to see them, they might want to move to Huntley, so, thank you.
The next area is strategic focus of forward-looking community. The village recognizes the importance of being prepared to address the challenges of tomorrow through long-range planning related to land use, transportation, regulatory obligations, and infrastructure. Technology is regularly evaluated and deployed to improve delivery of services and to aid in the planning and management of resources. Goal 1, long-range planning. Goal 2, management of infrastructure assets for today and tomorrow. And goal 3, innovation and implementation of technology to enhance service delivery. Good. And last, organizational excellence. The village is committed to providing an exceptional customer service experience for all those with whom we interact. This is accomplished through a committed workforce that understands the importance of serving our residents and business community. The ability to provide high-quality services is directly related to the resources available to do so. Exercising fiscal responsibility in the use of these resources is critical to ensuring that funds are available to provide the quality service expected by the community. Goal 1, highest level of customer service. 2, committed workforce. And 3, fiscal responsibility. Good. And lastly, I just want to point out for the board, one of the things that we thought was important is to identify by department each existing program and where these programs fit in to the strategic focus with this plan. That's what we did with the appendix. So again, we'd be happy to answer any questions about any of those programs. But as you look at the FY23 budget, these are programs that are already existing and in place. And obviously, if there are new programs, we will bring these to the board and get your authorization approval before we move forward with any of those. So again, we'd be happy to answer any questions on the appendix or any other part of it.
I just want to commend you guys on how thorough this is presenting to us. I mean, not only everything that went into it, but how we're going to compartmentalize it and how we're going to execute it. I think you guys did a great job to present it that way to us, so thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. And I'd like to thank all the staff that worked into it, and like I said, when we started and sat down, I wanted every employee's input in this, along with ours as a board, and I think it's a little different format, a little different than it has been in the past, which is kind of what I was hoping for. And then, as Dave mentioned, I'd like to see this be not so much an internal document or work of what it is, but use it as a marketing piece for us. So we are planning on that. We all know we are, but it's right there of what we expect and where we want to be. So I think it's a positive all the way around. Thank everybody from the board and staff for putting the time and energy to give us your input and thoughts and taking the hours out of your day in July to be here. You know, I heard comments about that, but I appreciate it, and I think the end result, you can see was worth it. So thank you.
So what we'll do is finalize the document, bring it back for your approval. I'm sorry, Harry, did you have?
On this one you have. Back under performance measures, for the Finance Department, you have the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, recognition of annual budget. Back to the strategic focus of healthy, safe, and attractive community, I think you would put Korea in there.
Sure, we can identify that. Yeah, I think it's important. I meant to bring this up, and maybe Kathy can elaborate on it. Not only the GFOA budget award, but I know just this week you sent an email, Kathy, talking about the Triple Crown winners. There's very few communities that through the GFOA receive Triple Crown recognition. And Kathy, if you could just elaborate on that for the board, because it's the budget and.
Right, so there's 3 programs through GFOA. Sorry. The budget award program, the annual audit program, and then our popular annual financial report, which is that small explanation of the full audit, which we have available in our lobby. So we were recipient to win all 3 of those awards from the Government Finance Officers Association, with I would say a handful, but more than a handful of other communities in Illinois, but it was a pretty prestigious award to be able to say we won the Triple Crown.
Yeah, and we'll put the list of communities in the board's packet in the manager's report tomorrow. But it's, like Kathy said, it's not a long list, and I'm absolutely proud of Kathy and her team as to how they go about presenting this information to the boards. We'll make sure you get that list tomorrow.
Is there anything else?
I have one question. Is the We Never Walk Alone program, is that an anti-bullying or an anti-suicide program?
It's a new program that we implemented where our officers can go for mental health concerns.
That's right, I recall that now.
So it's something that we just implemented this year along with our career support team.
That's wonderful, thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none?
Wait, Mayor, is this what the public is going to see? Because I think it's beautiful. It's peppy and beautiful and vibrant. It's not just reading boring old words the way it's been in the past.
That's a lot of pictures
Dodgy.
in there.
Whoever did this, thank you.
Yeah, we did that in-house. Melissa Stockford, who's our marketing recruitment specialist, she did that quickly this week. She did a really nice job with it. So we're absolutely proud of that.
I don't like this one.
I would have liked to have seen the word inclusion or inclusive a little more. I remember when I gave you my revisions, I had noted that.
Okay, we can certainly.
Kind of stick it in a few places, because other people are going to notice the absence of it, considering what's going on in our world today.
Sure, if the board is okay with that.
As long as we practice what we preach.
Yeah. Well, it has to be used appropriately,
Absolutely. I'm
obviously.
just saying all the way around, it's what it is. So, is that it? All right, now we're gonna move on to the fun part. Item 6, budget workshop. Review of personnel staffing, pension and insurance summary, review of financial management and debt management policies, one-time transfer history, outstanding debt balances, TIF information, and debt per capita. Sounds like a lot of fun, Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. We'll make it as fun as possible. So as the board is aware, every year, instead of just giving you this 300-plus page document, we try to break it down in these 2 workshop meetings, so you're not having to look at this all at one time. Unlike what you see at the state and how quickly those budgets are presented for review and consideration, that's not what we wanted to practice here. So this is workshop number 1. It ties directly to our personnel, pension and financial and debt management policies, as you stated, Mayor. In our budget calendar, we are here October 14th to talk about those things. October 28th is our next workshop meeting where we get into the capital requests from our departments. As we've obviously stated, and you all know, we're a service organization, and approximately 3/4 of our operating budget is tied directly to our personnel expenses. We've worked long and hard over the years to keep those costs in check. You know that we've used a philosophy that combines the use of full-time employees with regular part-time and seasonal employees, contractual services, as you heard about tonight, public works, and intergovernmental partnerships. And I don't want that to get lost, right? We have multiple intergovernmental partnerships through our, as an example, CCOM for dispatch services. We partner with Algonquin on inspection services. We have a long history of working with others to provide services to our community. This allows us to provide the highest levels of service to our residents in what we believe is the most cost-efficient manner as possible. Looking at the proposed staffing for 2022, I just want to take a step back to 21. You know, back in August, you authorized an increase in the number of full-time equivalent positions in the police department and the sworn personnel to allow us to be competitive and flexible in attracting lateral transfer police candidates who are interested in transferring to monthly. And then also it allowed us to create a new sergeant position over that time. And Chief, maybe you could just real quick update the board on where you see our new 3 lateral officers, and then why it was important what we did with the sergeant position. Because not long thereafter, we had some changes, right?
So we just recently hired 3 lateral officers, one from Crystal Lake, one from Hampshire, and another one from Chicago Heights. They started last week. They're doing great. All the feedback has been very positive. So in hiring a lateral officer, after we go through the process, the background check and poly insight and such, they go right into our field training program. So they don't have to go to the academy. They're already academy certified. So they get matched up in an FTO right away. So that has been working out really well. We also have another officer at the Illinois State Police Academy right now. He graduates, I believe, mid-November. So staffing-wise, that's worked out well for us. The additional sergeant's position, right now we work an awful lot with officer in charges, and they do a great job for us, but that's really designed to be more of a short-term solution. So by adding a couple more sergeants and putting more sergeants in patrol, we will have more, I guess, supervision, and the officers will not be in a position where they're actually running a shift. So unfortunately, one of our sergeants was just deployed for 400 days to the Middle East. We're not sure if that's what we're thinking. So we'll actually have 5 in our patrol division versus 6. But the goal was to try and have an appropriate level of supervision in our patrol division.
Thank you, Chief. We gave Charlie the night off, but I just want to make sure that the board is aware. I know we reported this in our manager's report. We've also looked at the uptick, the increase in development activity. So 2 things. We hired a full-time building official. He started 2 weeks ago, Chrissy, I believe. A week and a half ago. He was the assistant building commissioner and our building official in Arlington Heights, so he comes to us with a great deal of experience. And then, as you all know, Margot is retiring in May of next year. Based on our workload, we brought in a senior planner to allow for a transitional period there. So Scott Bernacki is our new senior planner, and he's been here basically that same week and a half. So as we move forward into 2022, the number of proposed authorized budgeted positions is 105 and a half. Because you reported today that for the first time in our history, we went over 100, or right at 100 employees, correct? I will tell you that back in 1999, we conducted a staffing analysis that took us through the year 2010. As I recall, back in that document, by 2010, I think it recommended close to 120 employees. So to give you an example of how we balanced things and attempted to provide services, but also managing the financial aspects of it, that was our roadmap. But as we know, we had a number of curveballs thrown at us during that decade as well from a financial perspective. Speaking of that, the 4 full-time positions that are being proposed, that's a lot for us in part. The reason why we're proposing that is we didn't last year propose any due to the uncertainty tied to the pandemic. So the budget for 22 proposes the addition of a maintenance worker in the streets and underground division, a utility worker in the wastewater division of our public works and engineering department. In the police department, we propose the addition of a full-time social worker, which is proposed to replace our part-time contracted position. And then we also propose the addition of another civilian employee, support services assistant. Additional changes within the department not impacting the number of authorized positions include promoting a patrol officer to sergeant, and then promoting our current management assistant in the police department, Christina Austin, to support services manager. In the development services department, we propose the addition of a part-time property maintenance inspector, and then a vacant part-time communications manager in the manager's office is proposed to be eliminated, and those duties will be picked up by existing personnel. So the proposed 100.5 full-time equivalent positions equate to 3.8 employees per 1,000 population. Historically, the village's ratio of employees per 1,000 population has been below comparable communities in the region. Chrissy did a nice job of providing for you in this document an overview of where we've been in terms of population, our total number of employees, and then the number of employees per 1,000. So the board knows our new census number is 27,740. I don't think there's anybody here that believes that number is accurate. We believe that that number is probably closer to 29,000, if not pushing 30,000. So when we run these numbers, we're using the census number, which is that 27,740 number, but we remain at 3.8 employees per 1,000 residents. As you can see, that's historically pretty darn close to where we've been. My guess is if you run that number closer to 30,000, we were at that 3.7 number. We've only been higher back in 2014. The breakdown by department, 42% of our staffing is in the police department, 35% in public works and engineering, 10% in development services, 6% in finance, 7% of the village manager's office, but I want the board to remember that that includes HR, our director of human resources, and Carl, our IT manager. So we run out of the manager's office most of the HR and IT functions as well. Again, the summary of the personnel changes appeared on page 5 of the document. As I mentioned, we eliminate the half position for a communications manager in the manager's office. We add 2 additional sworn officers, which the board authorized at the August 12th meeting. We add a full-time social worker to replace the part-time social worker, add the support services assistant, add a part-time property maintenance inspector, reclassify a vacant office assistant position in the public works department to authorize unbudgeted, add a maintenance worker in the street and underground utilities division, reclassify a seasonal street light maintenance position to part-time. If anybody's wondering who that is, that's our retired public works director they see around in the bucket truck all the time, Jim Schwartz. And then we propose adding a utility worker in the wastewater division. So we'd be happy to answer any questions, Mayor, on that part of the budget.
What was Jim before, just a contract?
No, we just forgot to count it. No, all kidding aside here, we never identified specifically his position in the budget. We just want to clean that up. But he's been doing that since 2016? 15? Yeah. So about 40 years later. Yeah, 40 years later. That's where we got his money.
Any other questions so far?
The support services assistant, what is their, are they assisting the full-time social worker?
No, essentially, they'll be dealing with a lot of the administrative tasks that we get in our building. Right now, we have many people wearing multiple hats, which works out great, but we're at the point now, it's very difficult to keep up with a lot of the administrative workload. FOIAs, we get requests for in-car cameras all the time, so we've got to go through all those videos. There's some FOIAs that we get, we've got to go through 20 and 30 cases of redacted, things of that nature. So we finally reached a point that we were kind of looking for somebody to come in and really just give us some support, and that person will report to our support service manager.
Got it.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mayor. So just moving forward, to remind the board, we have 2 collective bargaining groups that represent approximately 42% of our workforce. The International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, represent our 15 employees in the Public Works Department, and MAPCHAC, or 207, represents our patrol officers, detectives, CRT, and SRO in the police department. You will see that the contract expiration for the Public Works contract is this year. I know Chrissy and Tim are working their way through discussions with the union. We plan to have an update for you at our next board meeting. Again, I won't spend a lot of time. We'd be happy to answer any questions on wages. As we do each and every year, we present to you in the budget the classification, wage and classification schedule, pay plan. This year proposed, in addition to any merit opportunities, a 2.5% increase on January 1 for our employees. But again, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on wages. Pension, I'd like to note our funded status. I'm RAF, we're at 85.7, our police pension 60.4. In terms of where we're at with our health insurance, health and dental insurance, there's a section in there. You can see that that's a large expense for us. Medical health insurance, $1.4 million is budgeted in 2022, $80,000 for dental insurance and $20,000 for life insurance. And I really want to focus, hit a little bit on our wellness program. I'll turn it over to Chris, but I just think that we've re-upped this a little bit. Obviously, the pandemic slowed our wellness program, but we just did a step challenge. But Chris, you just want to hit any of the other ideas that we have coming up?
Sure, we have, excuse me, sorry. We've been putting together some employee engagement activities. It's been a little bit difficult this past year with COVID restrictions, so we've been trying to come up with different ideas where we can still engage our workforce while maintaining social distancing. We had, even just this summer, we had an ice cream truck come out, right? Just a quick get together, people you can visit with your neighbors. We did a step challenge. We've done the fitness challenge. We have, we're looking at various apps we can utilize for our employees. We've discussed like a meditation app, right? Something like that for calming stress. We have our EAP we offer, which offers a multitude of services at no cost confidentially for our employees. So we have a large package we're trying to present and work towards to engage our workforce. We did over the summer a program where you could do a blood draw for staff. It's no cost to them, but they get a $50 gift card. It presented a nice, probably 5-6 page report that you could then bring to your doctor, show your health, because we have a large group of people that maybe don't see a physician as often as they should. So it was actually out of that visit, we had 2 different employees approach us and tell us they discovered something they weren't aware of that they brought to their doctor and sought treatment for. So little things like that we've been doing, I think have been appreciated by staff.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, so in conclusion, again, I think the board knows this, right? Our employees are our most valued asset. They do the work day in and day out. I think we enjoy an organizational culture here that continuously searches for cost-efficient service and program delivery options. I can tell you that your leadership team is committed to monitoring service levels and ultimately through this budget process, making recommendations to you all for personnel and staffing levels that are directly linked to our service that we provide the community. So again, I know that's kind of a quick overview, but again, we'd be happy to answer any questions on this.
Ron?
I just wanted to say that Dave pointed out what I felt was the most important sentence in this whole thing. And that is, and I circled it, that our employees are its most valuable asset. You guys drive the car, all we do is provide the gas. To use an analogy, you're all to be complimented for everything you do. I interact with lots of other government, okay, that's me, and I think that we probably have the best village staff in the whole area, and you get kudos for everything you've done. That's why Huntley works.
Yeah.
When can we expect to see the 150 contract?
We expect to have a overview for you by on October 28th.
I have one final question. I don't know who to answer it. You don't have to answer it tonight. I'm just curious. How many retirees are we carrying among all the departments in total who are pensioned? I'm just curious. I've been doing this since 2013, and I'm just trying to think how many have retired during that time. You don't have to do it tonight. I'm just curious to the answer.
So, our police pension is pretty young. That started in 2001, so we have a handful of police pensioners on that pension fund. IMRF, I don't know because that we don't control that, but once they retire with IMRF, that's IMRF, so I'm not sure how many there will be, so.
We probably have 5 on the police pension.
Yeah, probably,
5 or 6.
right.
5 or 6. It's pretty small.
I think it's small.
Very.
Yeah, it's wonderful, because you're employing healthy, young people. And this wellness program is great.
Yeah, we've seen some very positive impacts in our wellness program over the years. Chief and I were just talking earlier today, or earlier in the week, I should say, about the condition of our police department physically. I think it's as strong as you see anywhere. So.
Anything else? Once again, thank you, Dave, and all staff for putting this first step together for us. And, we got the next couple months, so.
We'd be happy to answer any questions on this, not the policy or anything else, but it doesn't have to be here, obviously. If you have things you'd like to run by us, please do so.
Thank you. Village manager report.
Nothing
Any questions, Dave? Village president's report. We have McCog on the 27th at Leafville's Grill and Pub, hosted by Mayor John Cozio, the city of Marengo. Starts at 5:30 and 6:30 dinner, 7 McCog update. You want to go let Rita know as soon as possible, and that's all I have for now. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Need a motion to go into executive session for property acquisition, purchase, sale, or lease of real estate.
So moved.
Second.
Harry, JR. Roll call.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes,
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzkopf?
Aye.
Trustee Candicaris?
Yes.
Motion carries.